Almost every organization that I know has an observability product. Many of them love that product. They just hate the price.
Hey, Channel Insiders. Welcome to another episode of Channel Insider Partner POV, your source for untapped opportunities and unfiltered opinions in the IT channel to help you make better business decisions. I'm your host, Katie Bavoso. My guest today is Kendall Miller, Chief Extrovert at Axiom, an independent software vendor that built its own data store from the ground up to create a better observability and storage product that Kendall says is far more economical than the competition. Kendall, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Katie.
Thanks so much for being here. Your title immediately jumps out at me. I've never heard of a chief extrovert before, so right off the bat, I have to ask, what is that?
The role that I play at Axiom is that bubbly extrovert externally. I'm involved in sales. I'm involved in marketing. I handle our partnerships. But when they need a person who can speak on behalf of the company, be bubbly, that kind of thing, that's where they put me.
I really want to talk about why we're here today, which is to talk about Axiom. So when it comes to your company, what do you do? Who are you? And at the core, who do you serve?
We've been in business about 4 years, initially building an observability product in the metric space. And when we got started, realized pretty quickly the data stores underlying almost every observability product out there, I don't want to say we're trash, I would say are dated, right? Like there's problems because they were built a long time ago before some things about the internet had fundamentally changed with the cloud. Also, we've made some advancements in research around compression and querying, et cetera. So we went back in a hole and built our own data store from scratch, which gives us an incredible advantage in a couple of different ways, but primarily what makes Axiom different is there's no hot storage, cold storage. Companies charge people to have hydrated data, dehydrated data, whatever their term is, custom metrics. It's all just data, and it can all be hot. It can all be live. You never need to pay extra for a certain kind of storage. At Axiom, we can ingest that data and query it for 10 years, the same we can for 10 days. And so it gives us a really unusual advantage in the observability space. People use us as long-term storage and then send data on to another observability platform. You can use us in the security space for long-term storage because you have to store certain amounts of data for forever, especially if you're in financial services or all kinds of different things. At the end of the day, we're just another observability product. Our key differentiator is the economics underlying everything that we do are wildly different, and we pass that on to the consumer. So you can ingest more data. You don't have to sample. You can keep it longer because we built it from the ground up to enable that.
Do you have a metric that you could share with us where a customer was able to save X after switching to Axiom?
It's really hard to say because it can vary so much, but I think on average, if a customer is using Amazon CloudWatch, we are often 20x more affordable. So I don't mean 20%, I mean 20x. So 20 times more affordable. It is a wild improvement over these other options. And there are others that the number is much, much bigger. If you're spending too much on observability, you're going to be shocked at the price savings that you get with us. Oftentimes I have to be careful about it when I talk to a customer because they don't believe me, which frankly, when I met Axiom and they told me what they did, I said, I don't believe you. And then they sat me down and told me how they did it. I said, holy hell, I want in.
Let's talk about your customers. What verticals do they usually tap into? Is it everyone? Because it does sound like a pretty ubiquitous product when we're talking about industry. Who's your ideal customer?
Anyone who's running any kind of SaaS product or anything online needs a logging observability partner. They are sending logs somewhere. We cover all kinds of verticals, from IoT to finance to security, like you name it, everyone's using us. Our ideal customer profile, is broad. We target the enterprise that has long-term storage needs. So again, that can be across different verticals. We see a lot of interest in fintech, in security companies. Anything that's highly regulated tends to really need something like what we're doing. So that's government, healthcare, whatever. I mean, there's lots of different things now. There's certain lines where having an external source like us really makes sense in certain lines where you need to keep all of that internally and build everything internally. And, we really hope you avoid that and go with us. But yeah, the bigger enterprise companies with lots and lots of data that need insight into everything they're doing. Now, that said, one of the big use cases that we have is e-commerce, because people want to be able to track every single user interaction. Where did they go? When did they stop? Did they put it in the cart and then stop? Did they get all the way through the cart and then run out of? Why did they buy? What was the entire user journey? And with lots and lots of customers, that ends up being a lot of data, and a lot of other providers just can't provide that affordably enough to be useful.
So you talk about being able to build it in-house if somebody wanted to. What are the things that people have run into of trying to do that themselves? And what is the difference? What are you hearing from your customers when they use Axiom to answer these issues instead?
So there's a lot of open source tools out there, or other software that's been around for a long time, Prometheus, Elasticsearch. There's reasons to build things in-house. There just always is going to be. However, we think we're the best place to send your data because managing that in-house ends up taking just a lot of time, a lot of money. Even if you just have like 2 engineers managing Elasticsearch internally at your company, you're probably looking at $150,000 to $200,000 per engineer in today's market. So you're pretty close to, $250,000 to $500,000 just to maintain your own internal database. And then you're probably doing it poorly because it's not the only thing you do. It's a side project for you. And you're using tooling that is dated, that is difficult to use, that costs a lot of money to keep that storage. So, going with Axiom, you're going to save just a tremendous amount of money and a tremendous amount of heartache. People often buy Axiom for the cost savings compared to other options. And we get a lot of people who migrate from older data stores, older observability services because of our economics. So even though people choose it for the economic reasons, they tend to still be surprised by just how big the economic difference is. And then I think the second thing that we hear a lot is other software requires a tremendous amount of training for their engineers to get them up and going with it. And Axiom is intuitive enough that they can deploy it across an organization. Engineers get it very quickly and can become power users very quickly. But sales and marketing teams can make sense out of it because of how simple and easy it is to use.
Do you have a use case that you might be able to walk me through in which a real customer, you were able to successfully take them all the way through to the point of full deployment and fully up and running on Axiom?
There's a customer that we worked with recently called Happen, who is a heavy user of AWS Lambdas. So AWS Lambdas are have some complicated issues around them, specifically because, if you're unfamiliar with a Lambda, it's a serverless, like you give a function to Amazon runs the function and then gives you the result of the function back. And you don't care how that's spun up or what that looks like. It's also done very, very, very quickly. And so you can scale incredible workloads with, hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of Lambdas spun up very, very quickly. But then you need those Lambdas to report back, to log something. We had Happen move from CloudWatch, which is Amazon's built-in observability tool, to Axiom. And they found Axiom was much easier to use. There was none of this, again, rehydrating logs or dehydrating logs, hot storage versus cold storage. The ability to just have everything be queryable immediately for as long as they need. And they ended up going and writing a open source piece of software that enables the ingestion of serverless logs to Axiom, because this use, and it wasn't a huge lift. They just wanted a few key features, so they open sourced that. It is going to be relevant to other customers, which, I love when a partner goes and does that kind of thing, where they're a customer / partner and they're actually building something for other customers to be able to use. But that Lambda use case is very, very common. Increasingly, companies are using something like Lambda. They send it to CloudWatch. The cost savings they get with Axiom is substantial. The user interface they get with Axiom is substantial, or the improvements on that. And then the hot storage, cold storage, hydrated, rehydrated, whatever just goes away. Give us everything. Use it. Search it immediately.
And that's AWS Lambdas as opposed to the Google Cloud Pikes and the AWS Vaietas, of course. So just keep that in mind, everybody. What is it like to partner with a vendor or a hyperscaler in this case that is as big as AWS? What is it like to partner with AWS?
I mean, Amazon is a beast of a company. They have lots and lots of partners, and it's really hard to stand out. Now, they have a couple of different programs for organizations like us. We're in something called ISV Accelerate, where someone at Amazon has identified what we've built and sees it as key and substantial and probably going to grow and probably going to make waves. And they put us through a special kind of program to accelerate us, to handhold us, to make sure they're giving us resources because they believe we can really make a difference in the Amazon marketplace and we're going to be doing something that's relevant to their customers. So we get a little bit of extra handholding. I've partnered with Amazon in the past before where we don't have that, and it's a lot harder to make yourself stand out. But once Amazon has identified you as somebody different, we work very closely with a partner manager there. I meet with them every week where they talk me through, hey, here's some of the things you need to work on next. Here's how to get Amazon's attention. We're doing a training the end of next week, I think, where we're going to bring in the entire sales team, talk about what are the things that Amazon cares about, that Amazon sellers care about. I don't just want my partner manager to know who we are. I need the sellers at Amazon to know who Axiom is. I want to know how are they incentivized so that we're selling in the right way that meets their incentives. That's something that we always ask in partnership conversations is how are you incentivized so that we make sure we meet those incentives.
And how does partnering with a hyperscaler like AWS factor into you being a differentiator in this space? Is there anything that they do in particular, aside from what we just went over, that really helps you to, be bigger, better, faster, stronger?
So actually, some of the interesting history around Axiom is we built this data store knowing there was some things coming from Amazon, specifically on the Lambda side, that were going to allow us to query at the kind of scale and speed that we needed to query at. We built this before it was actually available from Amazon, and then we had to wait a little bit longer than we anticipated for Amazon to open that up and make that possible. But the technology that underlies Axiom is built cloud native in such a way that literally 5 years ago, what we're doing is impossible. That's part of why we're so far out in front of our other customers. So yeah, the things that Amazon has built have enabled us to exist as a company, have enabled us to have the kind of size and scale and leverage that we have. It's not necessarily unique to Amazon anymore as the other clouds catch up. But I mean, the reality is when you talk about hyperscalers, I think it was a year and a quarter ago, Q4, Amazon grew by an entire Google Cloud in 1 quarter, right? Amazon's so far out in front of the other hyperscalers that it's really not even close. Like, yes, people use Microsoft Cloud. Yes, people use Google Cloud. There are lots and lots of them, but Amazon is so much bigger. Being able to transact on the marketplace is a big deal. It's not something that everyone does, but there's almost every large customer with Amazon is on some kind of commit spend. And so they commit to Amazon, we're going to spend this much with you this year. And when a company like Axiom is available in the marketplace with AWS, buying Axiom through the marketplace counts towards that commit spend. And so it eases the transaction process. They don't have to go through a different procurement process with us because it's on Amazon's paper. They can literally click a button on Amazon's website and go with us immediately. And then it also counts against their commit spend. So if they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars with another service and they move over here and it's going to count towards something they've already committed with Amazon, that's a benefit for them a lot of times. So there's lots of advantages for our customers that we partner with Amazon. There's also, we literally wouldn't exist if Amazon hadn't made some of the leaps and bounds that they've made in the last few years.
Where, if at all, do you overlap with the IT channel? Is there ever a point where you're working with MSPs or VARs that are already a part of your client's sort of partner system? And how does that impact Axiom?
Anytime a large organization is going through the procurement process, I mean, this is why we're in the Amazon marketplace, right? Is it smooths the procurement process. Now, again, when very large enterprise customer says, hey, we want to buy Axiom, we only buy it through this partner, we go on board with that partner, figure out how to make that partner happy, and then service that end customer. Like that's fine. I don't care. I mean, I can go build the relationship with that gigantic enterprise customer and make them trust me and make, when they're at the point where they're saying, I want to buy Axiom and here's the channel, I'm going to do everything I can to remove as much friction as possible from that, right? I don't care if I have to give a percentage to a VAR. I want to get that customer on board, and I want to make that smooth and easy for them. And I know that there are VARs, MSPs, et cetera, that have those relationships that make it smoother. So we do spend time training MSPs and VARs. This is what our product looks like. This is where it fits. But where we see the VARs and the MSPs leverage us is when they've been trying to get into an account for a long time, or they know this account, is spending a ton of money on something they didn't sell. We're a very, very compelling, easy sell into those accounts. Hey, what if I could save you a 0 off your bill? Maybe 2 zeros off your bill. I mean, it's kind of crazy sometimes the difference in the economics. And so a VAR or an MSP having that kind of pitch really does go a long ways in them getting into accounts they wouldn't otherwise be in. Where most companies are offering a step change and improvement, it's really unusual. And part of the reason I work at Axiom is it's really unusual to have a product that is a generation ahead. I mean, we are so wildly far out in front of our competition in certain ways. It's just kind of mind-blowing, and it's exciting.
So my last question for you today, Kendall, is if I'm an IT buyer and I am running into all the issues that we've been talking about throughout this entire interview, where can I reach out? Where can I learn more? And how can I get started with Axiom?
Yeah, so, come to axiom.co, reach out to sales@axiom.co, ping me on LinkedIn. It doesn't really matter. Anyone will respond. Almost every organization that I know has an observability product. Many of them love that product. They just hate the price. And even if that's the only pain point that you have, reach out to Axiom. If you need long-term storage, reach out to Axiom. If you're sick of paying for custom metrics, hot and cold storage, all of that, reach out to Axiom. We make these problems go away.
Thanks again to my guest Kendall for joining me today, and thank you for watching or listening to this episode of Channel Insider Partner POV. You can check out all our episodes on channelinsider.com and never miss an episode when you subscribe to our YouTube channel at channelinsider_news and trends. And subscribe on our podcast platforms as well. Check all of those out on channelinsiderpartnerpov.simplecast.com. And if you've got a question for me or you want to be on the show, you can email me at partnerpov@channelinsider.com. Once again, I'm Katie Bavoso. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.